Welcome to JobSkillshare.org. I'm happy to announce a full course on switch troubleshooting for network engineers. Now, this is going to be for people who are brand new to networking, or people who are in help desk, or our members who have actually finished the first learning path in their career from JobSkillshare.org. So when people join in our platform, we recommend them to start with our first learning path, which is for IT support and help desk positions and anything that is a level 1 right here. So when they start, they finish some of the things that is important in this career: Active Directory, Office 365, level 1, level 2 troubleshooting, some of the basics things before we recommend them to transition into networking. And even when they transition into networking, we are creating a learning path over here which consists of 2 courses. It basically consists of Network Plus and Server Plus course, not a CCNA. In our platform, we tell our members that Network Plus is a good course to start because it doesn't get into a very extreme details of switches and routing, specifically about Cisco, but it goes over other things like DHCP servers on Windows, because in reality, we use different things as a network engineers. Now, again, if you want to become a full-blown network engineer, a Cisco-specific engineer, then you will need to go for the Cisco CCNA route. This is why we're sharing this course, just to give you an idea of how the troubleshooting works on a switch level, and this is going to be a complete course for beginners who can learn some commands, examples, and also try in their own labs. If you are a premium member or a plus member, we are also building a full course on CCNA 200-301, which basically is a long course. If you feel like you need a concept learning, you can still take this course. But again, this course is under development. We have almost completed it. It's a good course to start, but we will be considering to redo some of the videos because of technical difficulties. We are almost done with this course, and then if you feel like you want to do hands-on practice as a premium member, you can watch that course, the videos in that course, and then follow in this 200-01 course from Practice Labs. This is exactly the same videos and the labs we have used in our CCNA course. So this is a complete course for someone to get started. Now again, we are skill-specific platform. We don't go by certification, we go by skills. So some of these labs, when they say show retired labs, that doesn't mean that these labs are not available. We heavily use these other labs because in reality, when you're working as a network engineer, you don't work on the most modern equipments in the companies when you get hired, especially as a new beginner. You always work on devices that are mixed match with the modern devices, with devices that are 5 or 6 years old. So this is where your retired labs does not mean that these are skills that are also retired. They are very valuable, and this is how we create our own courses. We mix match things and we give you the resources. If you are a premium member and you feel lost and you want to learn about networking, I highly recommend you go to the home page and basically submit the career consultation form right here and send us a full details, so we can make a Zoom interview and then specifically show you what kind of resources you should be using. Because our platform is not just our site, we have labs, and then we have our own way of customized courses. Before we jump into specific learning on Cisco switch troubleshooting, I would like to basically go over some of the job requirements that you will come across. Now, most of our members are used to help desk jobs, and the way we explain things and is everything about IT support. But there are different levels of help desk as well. For example, Tier 1 NOC technician may not be just a level 1 help desk. This could be a person who is doing multiple things. Mainly, you may be monitoring a company network through some kind of monitoring devices, like for example this one. You have a site and you have access to different type of companies in that system. You may be just monitoring multiple companies, and if you see that you get into that company and you see that there's a Cisco alert going on, everything is good over here and there's something wrong over here, you may need to get into that, and you as a NOC level engineer will then look into the information. And what you do as a NOC level 1 or level 2, you will basically send an email to that specific company's internal IT and tell them that there's an issue going on. Do you want us to look at it? Can someone basically work with us? Something like that. That's going to be in your SLA and your contract. But you are going to be using certain things like this in most of the companies where you are a service provider, or even if you're working in a local environment and you're the network engineer and you have to do this in future, they will have set up something to monitor these devices. It will be really hard for any company or any places where they don't have things like this. Of course, that you will find companies like that, but that's just not a normal standard of troubleshooting Cisco or network devices. So one thing I just want to let you know, that this is not just help desk positions for help desk people to understand this, but also for people who are going for knock or maybe landed a job as a, let's say it's a small business and everybody's doing like a one-man IT show kind of thing. So of course, even if they call you help desk, you may come across switches and routers, and you need to then troubleshoot it. So in this video, you will learn a lot about switch troubleshooting at basic level, and after that we will be adding a router level troubleshooting, and we'll keep moving on like that. Thank you.
This is module 1 part 1. In this module we will be focusing on the troubleshooting aspect of the network engineer. Any associate level network engineer must know how to troubleshoot any form of errors or any form of failures in the environment. The topic for today is basic switch troubleshooting. We will be covering in this module of troubleshooting Cisco IP network. So troubleshooting LAN connectivity problems. As far as switch is concerned, it is a local area network device, layer 2 device as well, we can call it as. So most important terms that we need to know is ping, trace, show IP route, and show interfaces of the switch or router when we are looking out for the problems in the LAN connectivity. We have 7 layers of OSI layers. You can see over here: physical, data, network, transport, session, presentation, and application. The more we can dug into this detail, we can see that ping, we can ping the IP, whether the interface is active or not. We can trace the destination. We can use show IP route command to see the static or dynamic routes. We can use the show interface command to see whether the interface is up, or line protocol of the interface is up or now or not. You can see over here troubleshooting layer 2. We have a switch. We have 2 PCs on the local area network. Situation: host 1 cannot ping host 2. So you can see that we cannot form connectivity between the 2 hosts. So troubleshooting options are verify IP address and subnet mask, whether they are correct or not. That should be very important. The subnet mask and IP address. Then we can also use the switch MAC address table to determine whether what interface the MAC is learned on. So you can apply the command on the switch interface to see or verify the MAC address table. So if the problem ends being a failed link, then root cause may be, it can be a network card problem, it can be a cable problem, it can be the issue of port security on the interfaces, or any form of interference in the network. So objective of this new module part 1 is, in this exercise you will learn how to use some switch CLI commands to help and troubleshoot the issues in the local area network that is consisting of switches. You can also refer to the course material or use your preferred search engine to gain an understanding of these tasks. So talking about problem definition, in this scenario, VLAN on NY access 1 cannot communicate with the IP on the VLAN on the NY core 2 switch. So we will troubleshoot this problem. So we are using this topology on the Practice Lab platform. We are talking about the NY access 1 switch, and we are talking about the NY core 2 switch. So these cannot communicate between the VLANs or the IP configured on the VLANs. As you know, we cannot configure IP on the interface of the switch because it is layer 2. So we can configure the IP address on the particular VLAN. We will troubleshoot it why these 2 VLANs cannot communicate with each another, or the IP configured on this VLAN cannot communicate with each another. This is the scenario. So we will see a particular VLAN is configured on this port of the switch NY access 1. and particular VLAN is configured on this port of the switch NY core 2. So we are on NY-access1 switch, and we are on NY-access1 switch. We can move on to the privilege mode and use all the show commands on this mode, which is known as privilege mode. First of all, you can also see the VLANs configured. The command is show VLAN. You can see over here, it will show you all the VLANs over here. You can see VLAN 5 named IT on this command. You can also see the VLAN with the command show VLAN brief. So it will show you the brief VLAN information as shown below as well. Other command is show VLAN summary. It will show you the summary of the VLAN. Number of existing VLANs are 6. Number of existing BTP VLANs are 6 as well. Now we can also check the IP address configured on the VLAN with the command show IP interface brief. Will show us the configured IP address on the interfaces or VLAN. You can see that we are talking about VLAN 5 and it is configured with the IP address 192.168.15.7. So you can see the IP address on the VLAN 5. You can see the VLAN 5 is configured with the IP address 192.168.15.7. You can also see the configuration running on the switch with the command show running config. This is a very important command you use every day. You can see over here we have some configuration shown over here. So you can see over here we have running configuration. We can see VLAN 5 with the IP address as shown, and we know that this VLAN 5 is the IT VLAN. Now as you can see on this switch we have VLAN 5. Moving on to the NY core 2 switch where other VLAN is configured. You can see moving on to privilege mode, the command is show VLAN. You can see over here we also have VLANs over here, but the VLAN of IT is VLAN 6. This seems to be an issue over here. We can also use the command show VLAN name IT. It will show us the information of the VLAN. It is VLAN 6 configured on this port, and this is named IT. We have two VLANs named IT on that NY-access1 and NY core 2 switch, but they cannot communicate because, so we know we have VLAN IT on this switch and on this switch as well with particular IP address, but they cannot ping because this is VLAN 5 and this is VLAN 6. You know that same VLANs can communicate but different VLANs cannot. So we need to change this VLAN 6 to 5 so that they can communicate. So you can also see with the command. So you can also see with the information with the command show IP interface brief. You can see over here the IP address is configured on this VLAN 6 is 15.8. So we can check the connectivity whether they are reachable or not. First of all, checking with the command ping 192.168.15.7. It won't ping because it is in VLAN 5 and this is in VLAN 6. So what we can do is we can change this to VLAN 5 and the port should be in VLAN 5. And we know the port number is, we can check the port number with the command show VLAN name IT, and this port should be in VLAN 5 and name should be IT. We can do that. Moving on to global configuration mode, interface FA1/0/22 and it should be in VLAN 5. And we can also do the same thing. We can name the VLAN 5 as IT. The command name IT. VLAN followed by the VLAN number and name should be given as IT. We can also, but you can see the error over here. They have same VLAN name. So we have to remove the VLAN 6 first to counter this error. So we can do that by removing the VLAN. So the command is as follows. We can remove the VLAN with the command no VLAN 6. You use no before the VLAN command and it will remove the VLAN. So now we are good to go. We can check the configuration, show VLAN summary. You can see over here, you can see the VLAN as well with the command show VLAN. You can see over here we have VLAN 5 over here now. It is active, but the port should be in this VLAN 5 as well. So moving on to the configuration again, VLAN 5, name IT. This should be done again. Now moving the port interface fast Ethernet 1/0/22 in this VLAN 5, and this should be now in VLAN 5. Now we can give the IP address to this VLAN that was given before to the VLAN 6. The IP address was IP address 192.168.15.8, followed by the subnet mask 255.255.255.0, followed by the, and you can still see the error over here. It overlaps with the IP address configured on the VLAN 6. So we can do that again. Moving on to interface VLAN 6, and we can remove the IP address with the command no IP address. It will remove this IP address from this VLAN. Now again giving the IP address to the VLAN, the command is interface VLAN 5, and giving the IP address to this VLAN, IP address 192.168.15.8, followed by subnet mask 255.255.255.0, followed by the no shut command. Now this should give us the connectivity with the other VLAN 5 on the NY-access one. We can check with the connectivity with the command ping. We can check with the command in the privilege mode 192.168.15.7. You can see the ping is successful. Success rate is 60%. Again pinging it, success rate is 100%. You can see that we can ping the same VLAN now. So error was removed by eliminating this VLAN 6, because the VLAN 5 was having the IP address over here 192.168.15.7, and this VLAN 6 was having the IP address 192.168.15.8, but due to different VLANs they could not communicate, having the same name as IT, but they cannot communicate with different VLANs. What we did was we removed VLAN 6 and we made it to VLAN 5 and gave it the IP address 192.168.15.8. This was able to solve our issue of VLANs, because same VLAN can form membership and can communicate. Hello student, this is module 1 part 2. We are discussing basic switch troubleshooting, and this module will deal with troubleshooting Cisco IP networks. This is the core part of the CCNA as well. So talking about the switches, you know that a trunk link is formed between the two switches. So we very commonly find trunk link problems that occur due to incorrect configurations. You need to check the configuration before you make your switch live in the environment. So troubleshooting trunk link problem is a common task in networking. If a problem with a trunk is found and the cause is unknown, first check the trunk for a native VLAN mismatch. So we will check for the native VLAN mismatch in this part 2 module 1. So what is the effect of this native VLAN mismatch incorrect configuration? Sometimes port of the switch behaves like a trunk, even the port is not configured as a trunk, so they can act as a trunk. If an access port accepts frame from VLANs different from the VLAN to which it is assigned, this is called VLAN leaking. So a port should get the frame or accept the frame from a specified VLAN. Other than that, if it receives frame from any other VLAN, then it is called VLAN leaking. So to troubleshoot this VLAN leaking problem in the local area network, And to see the pair in the VLAN matching, we can use the command show interface trunk. I will show you right now in the live lab. The VLAN leaking occurs if the native VLAN is not the same on the both side. So on the both side of the switch, native VLAN should be same. So as you know, trunk link parts of trunk link ports of both sides configured with different native VLAN is known as native VLAN mismatch. The native VLAN mismatch affects most importantly inter-VLAN routing among very other problems. So this is also a security risk. The CDP displays a console notification message of a native VLAN mismatch. It will show you the message that there is a mismatch in the native VLAN. So this is a greater security risk. I will show you. So problem definition of our today's task is trunk link between. There is a problem in the trunk link between the NY Access 1 and NY Core 2 switch. So this is a topology of practice lab. This is the NY Access 1 switch we will be using and also using the NY Core 2 switch. So a trunk link is formed between these two ports of the switch FAS 0/23 of NY Access 1 and FA1/0/22 of NY Core 2 switch. A trunk link is formed, but we need to find the problem that is existing between them. Native VLAN 99 is configured on this and native VLAN 1 is configured on this. We will see the configuration and identify the errors. So this is the practice lab topology that we are using. So we are on NY Access 1. We will be moving on to privilege mode and we will see the first of all the running configuration. So command is show running configuration on this switch. We will be specifying the configuration. We will see the configuration over here. You can see over here the interface of this switch connected to NY Core 2 is configured as trunk and it has VLAN 99 on it. You can see description trunk to NY Core 2 switch. So this is the configuration over here that pertain to us. And also we will see the important command show interface trunk to see the trunk configuration. You can see over here we have trunk encapsulation.1q is configured and we have native VLAN 199 on this port. Native VLAN 99 is configured on this port. You can see over here. We can check the VLANs with the command show VLAN. You can see the VLANs with this command. All the VLANs are shown over here. We can see the ports in a particular VLAN as well. Now we will move to NY Core 2 switch and we will see the configuration on this switch as well. So moving on to the privilege mode, the command is show running config and you can see over here we have a VLAN configured on this port FA1/0/22. So you can see the output, the configuration on this interface fast Ethernet 1/0/22 of NY Core 2. It is a trunk link and you can see that we have VLAN 1 on this link. We use the command again. The command is show interface trunk. It will give you the output and you can see the VLAN 1 is a trunk link and is the native VLAN. You can see over here is 1 on this NY Core 2 switch. So technically you should be making same native VLANs on both the sides to avoid any kind of leakage. For that we can alter the configuration now. We can move to NY Access 1 and remove the VLAN or native VLAN 99 from it. Moving on to the global configuration mode. Moving on to the interface fast Ethernet 0/23. So we have to remove one VLAN or native VLAN from the trunk or the switch, and we are removing a native VLAN 99 from NY access 1. For that, we can move on to the interface path Ethernet 0/23, which is configured as a trunk link. We can remove the native VLAN with the command no switch port trunk native VLAN 99. It will remove it. Use just no command before it, and you can do this. Add the VLAN 1 as native VLAN with the command switch port trunk native VLAN 1. So this will remove. You can see the message over here. So you can see now that the port is in consistent state. Port consistency is restored when we remove the mismatch VLAN 99. So we were able to remove this mismatch VLAN, and our successful mission was to remove this mismatch VLAN that we did in front of you. So the data traffic for other VLAN except native VLAN will successfully propagate across the network, and native VLAN mismatch doesn't keep trunk establishment. The administrator can easily reconfigure native VLAN on both sides of the trunk. So these commands were used to troubleshoot our lab, show interfaces trunk, show VLAN, and most importantly, show running config, startup config were used. This is module 1 part 3, and we are going to discuss the basic troubleshooting of the switch. So our module is comprising of troubleshooting Cisco IP networks, and we will be dealing with troubleshooting aspect of a Cisco switch on the local area network. So as you know, trunk mode mismatches are very important aspect and very important factor in the problem that arises in the local area network. So we normally use switch port mode command to configure the trunk. Catalyst switches uses DTP dynamic trunking protocol to negotiate the state of the trunk link. So when statically configured trunk port on a trunk link is incompatible with the neighboring trunk port, a trunk link fails to form between the two switches. You can see in the figure example over here, we have PC2 and PC3 as well. PC2 and PC3 can communicate with each other but cannot communicate with PC4. However, it is in the same VLAN. The topology indicates a valid configuration, but why PC2 and PC3 cannot communicate to PC4? What is the reason? So for resolving this issue, we can use the show interface trunk command to check the issues and the status of the trunk ports on the switches. So we will build a topology, and we will show you the problem and how to resolve this trunk mode mismatches and wrong VLAN allowed issues on the switches. So we have two switches over here. We have switch 0, switch 1. It is having a trunk port between them. We have access port. We have one PC0 connected to access port of the switch 0. We have PC1 connected to access port of switch 1. Both the switches have been configured with VLAN 10, which is named IT. This switch is in VLAN 10, PC0 is also in VLAN 10, PC1 is also in VLAN 10. They are configured as switch access port on the switch respectively. PC0 is configured as access port on switch 0 and PC1 is configured as access port on switch 1. But as they are in the same VLAN, they should communicate, but they are not. You can see over here, we can check with the ping command. So checking with the ping command, you can see that IP of PC1 is 16.2. We will check with the ping command, they can communicate or not. So we are checking. We are moving to command prompt and we are going to ping the 16.2 IP, which is in VLAN 10, but it cannot ping it. So we will troubleshoot this problem. So we will move on to switch 0 and see the configuration. So moving on to the switch 0 and moving on to the privilege mode and using the command show running config. So it will show you all the configuration on the switch. You can see over here. We need to troubleshoot the trunking problem as VLANs or PCs on the particular VLAN cannot communicate. We can use the command show interface trunk. You can check the trunk configuration. The command show interface is trunk. You can see over here it is connected to FA0/1 of the switch 0. Mode is on. Encapsulation is 802.1q and trunking is the status. You can see over here the allowed ports are shown over here. Allowed VLANs are shown over here on this port. VLAN 10 is allowed over here, but still we cannot communicate. Moving to switch 1 and using the same command to check the issues. You can see over here show interface is trunk. Mode is auto. So here mode is auto, there is on. Encapsulation 802.1q, trunking is the status, and all the allowed VLANs are 10. Now still we cannot ping both the PCs, so now we have to resolve this issue. Now first troubleshooting is that on and auto mode can negotiate, so that's not the problem. Now we have to allow the VLANs through the trunk port. So for that we have to move on to the global configuration mode, interface fast Ethernet 0/1, and we have to allow all the VLANs. The command is switch port trunk allowed. So we have to allow all the VLANs now. So we can use all command as well. It will allow all the VLANs. Switch port trunk allowed. So command is switch port trunk allowed VLAN followed by all. You can use the VLAN ID as well. So we are allowing all the VLANs on this port of the trunk of this switch 0. Now moving on to switch 1 and we have to use the same command. Moving on to the global configuration mode, interface fast Ethernet 0/1 and command is switch port trunk allowed VLAN all, or you can use the VLAN ID as you wish. Now we can check the ping command and see whether the connectivity is established or not. So moving on to PC0 and pinging the PC1 on that switch 1. So command is simple. You can see over here ping command, it can ping the PC1. It means connectivity is now established. We have eradicated the error. We can also ping from this PC to that PC0. The IP of that PC is 192.168.16.1 and you can see the connectivity is established now. So our troubleshooting consisted of the basic issues. This was the trunk port. It was configured in the on mode. This was configured in the auto mode. They can negotiate trunking, so it is possible. This is not the error, this is right, but we have to allow the VLANs or particular VLANs to the trunk port. So what we did was we allowed VLAN 10 by using the command trunk allowed VLAN all. You can do all or you can specify the VLAN as well. We allowed VLAN 10 so that traffic of this VLAN could flow through this trunk to this PC on the access port. This was the resolution. So command used was show interfaces trunk, show VLANs, show running config, startup config commands were used to see the configuration and resolve the error.
And this is module 1 part 4. We are discussing basic switch troubleshooting in this module. Our basic purpose is to learn the basic switch troubleshooting in the section of troubleshooting Cisco IP networks. So we are following the Cisco CCNA 200-301 course. So talking about troubleshooting Ether channel. Ether channel are very important in the local area network on the switches where we bundle together multiple links to get a greater bandwidth over that. And moreover, it provides failover as well. So most of the issues with Ether channel or link aggregation are because of misconfiguration. Keep in mind that
The configuration of all physical interfaces has to match. So what is the problem definition here? We are troubleshooting the wrong ether channel mode issues in this lab task. So we are troubleshooting this topology on the practice lab platform. We will be using these two switches over here in the middle. So we have NY core 1 switch and we have NY core 2 switch over here. We have two ether channel bundles over here. You can see over here two links are forming between these two switches. So we will be troubleshooting the ether channel over here. You will see that this will be the trunk link. It is configured. You will see the configuration, and we will troubleshoot the modes configured on these switches, and you will learn you should not misconfigure the switches or ether channel with the wrong modes. So we are on NY core 1 switch now. So we can check the configuration with the command. First of all, we can check the configuration and IPs on the interfaces. The command is show IP interface brief. It will show the interfaces over here. You can see the interface. We have a VLAN over here with the IP address. We have different interfaces on the switches. You can see over here we have a port channel 1 configured. It means we have configured a ether channel link aggregation. That's the first tip over here. Now we can check the ether channel with the command show ether channel. You can see over here we have two ports and the protocol followed is LACP. So we have configured LACP on this NY core 1. We can also see the detail with the command show ether channel summary. It will show you all the detail. You can see over here protocol is LACP, number of group is shown is 1, D means down, and I means stand alone. So it means there is a problem here. It should not be down. You can see over here SD means suspended down. So this is not working. This ether channel is not operational at all. So we will move on to the next NY core 2 switch and see the same configuration with the command show IP interface brief and check the configuration over here as well. You can see over here we have VLAN 1 and then we also have a port channel configured over here as well. Now we can check the ether channel with the command show ether channel. You can see over here the protocol here is PAGP. So there is an issue over here. We can check the configuration in detail with the command as follows. So command is show ether channel summary to check the details over here, and you can see over here the link is not operational at all. This port channel is not operational. So there is a problem over here. The protocol is over here configured as PAGP. So it is very important that both ends should follow the same protocol, while either LACP and modes of LACP, either PAGP or modes of PGP. So it means that these two protocols cannot work together, and thus our ether channel would not be operational. So we have to modify it, we have to correct it, and we can do that by moving on to the global configuration mode of switch 2 and NY core 2 switch, and we will modify the configuration. So the command to change from this PAGP to LACP is as follows: interface range. So we know that this 23 FA1/0/23 and 24 are bundled up. So command is interface range fast Ethernet 1/0/23-24. So these ports would be bundled up with this command. The next command is channel protocol. So we need to change the protocol. That protocol should be LACP. Channel protocol LACP. You can see over here is already part of a channel with different type of protocol. So we have to remove that protocol first. The command to remove that is no channel protocol PAGP. So we are removing this protocol first, then we can apply the next protocol. So this is now removed. Now applying the command channel protocol LACP. So and till now issue has not been resolved, so we need to first remove the interface range. So we are removing it from the bundle up. So the rectification first should be, we have to remove the port channel. So the command is no interface port channel. We created a port channel by bundling up those two ports of the switch. Now we can remove that. We have to remove that bundle, then we can form a new bundle to enable the protocol LACP on this side as well. So we are removing it. We have removed it. No port channel 1, and then no interface port channel 1 is the command, and then we will configure the protocol. So simple configuration is needed. Interface range fast Ethernet 1/0/23 till 24, and command is simple, channel protocol LACP. We are configuring LACP, and now we need to enable the mode, channel protocol LACP mode, and mode channel protocol mode. We need to configure the mode as well. So command is channel group. We need to make a group mode, and mode we need to configure the mode, channel group followed by the number. Channel group number is 1, mode, and we will configure the mode active over here so that they can synchronize and they can form each channel bundle in the LACP protocol. We have configured the port channel now. Again, now we have created a port channel. Again the command should be followed. So the command is moving on to global configuration mode, interface port channel 1, and we need to configure it as a trunk port, as two switches have a trunk port between them. The command is switch port trunk encapsulation .1q followed by the command switch port mode trunk, and you can see that we have configured the trunk port. Now we can check the link aggregation with the command show ether channel summary. You can see over here the link W means waiting to be aggregated. So this link is now in aggregation mode. It is becoming operational. You can check on my core one as well. And the command is simple, show ether channel summary. So we will see that link will become active in a while. So what we did was this switch was configured with LACP and this was with PAGP, which is not possible. This is the error. We removed this error. We reconfigured this to LACP to form a ether channel bundle and to make it operational, because this is IEEE protocol and that is Cisco proprietary. And PAGP is Cisco proprietary protocol. So we configure ether channel and remove the error. This is module 1 part 5. We are dealing with basic troubleshooting in this module. The section is troubleshooting Cisco IP networks. In this CCNA module, we will troubleshoot and teach you how to troubleshoot in a network. So troubleshooting LACP port channel. LACP is link aggregation control protocol. For a port channel to work, both devices at its end must agree on it. They must know that they are talking over a port channel and to treat it like a single link. So we have to bundle together two links in port channel aggregation. So if a device treats some physical link as a part of the port channel, but the other device does not, these links will be down and not be operational. So they need to negotiate and for the link to be operational. So LACP is the standard version IEEE 802.3AD and it is widely accepted. You are going to find LACP on the switches from different vendors and on servers as it is an open source protocol. If you configure a port, it will work in LACP. It will start to work as a standalone. That's the main point. like any other physical port. So in LACP, the port will work as a standalone. However, it will start to send and listen for LACP's messages for negotiation to take place. In case it finds an LACP pair on the other side, the port will be automatically added to the bundle. This protocol has two modes, active and passive. So we have two modes in LACP. As you can tell, an active port will actively try to make the bundle, while a passive one will wait for the device on the other side to negotiate. So active port will try to make the bundle and the passive one will respond to the initiation by the active port.
So the problem definition in this module and part is wrong ether channel mode issue. So we will see that. So we will be using this topology over here, and this will be our topology on the practice lab. We will be using these two switches, NY Core 1 and NY Core 2 switches. You can see an ether channel bundle over here. We will be seeing the configuration and troubleshooting the configuration. We will see the modes of LACP active on it, and why are they not negotiating, because we need to see that this port channel bundling work in the LACP. So we will troubleshooting the errors. So we have two ports over here in this bundle, and we will see the configuration on the practice lab. So we are on NY Core 1 switch. We can see the configuration with the command show running config. First of all, we will be seeing the running config. We can see over here. The running config can be seen over here. We have port channel configured over here, and trunk port is also configured on the port FA01/0/23 and 24. As in the topology, you will see that we have, this is a trunk port, and the mode is channel group 1 mode passive. So this is operating in LACP mode passive. You can see over here both the ports are in passive mode. They are bundled together. Now we can also check the IPs on the interfaces. So command is show IP interface brief. So you can see over here the IPs on the interfaces. We have port channel that is down right now, but you can see the configuration as, and we can see the same for NY Core 2. The command is simple. Moving on to privilege mode, show running config. We will see the configuration over here. You can see the configuration running on the router right now. NY Core 2, we have port channel configured on this end as well. Trunk is also configured, as trunk is configured between the two ports of the switches. So you can check now the configuration. Here it is, two ports in the passive mode again, NY Core 2 passive mode. And the command to see the IPs are show IP interface brief. You will see the IPs or port channel here in the configuration. You can see over here port channel is down. It is not working. It means port channel or bundling is not working. So according to our scenario, our port channel is down. You can see over here bundling is not working, and we need to troubleshoot it. So we can check the port channel with the command show ether channel summary. You can see over here the output of the port channel, and it is, you can see over here I means standalone and LACP protocol is being followed. Port channel is SD. SD means suspended down. So it is not working. You can see clearly over here. We have to troubleshoot it. We can see on the NY Core 2 as well. So to check on this, NY Core 2 command is simple, show ether channel summary. It will show you the output. You can see over here again not operational. II means standalone. So one tip for that is, if you see P over here on both the interfaces. So one tip is, if you see II means standalone, if you see P over here, P over here, P over here, which means bundle in port channel, then it will be a hint, it will be a expected output that this port channel or bundling is operational and working. Right now it is not. So we will be seeing the configuration. You can see over here, and what we can see is the modes
configured our passive mode on both the sides. As I showed you in the running config, both the ports bundled together are in passive mode. You can see over here, these are passive mode. Again on NY Core 1, we can see the same, that these are in passive mode and they cannot negotiate. So one end should be at least active so that they can negotiate. Both are passive, they are waiting for something for the other side to negotiate or initiate the negotiation. In active mode can do that only. Passive mode cannot. You can see over here, modes would be passive. You can see over here, that is the fault. So this is these both end are passive mode and we cannot see successful negotiation because these are passive mode. We will be doing this. We will be making it an active mode. For that, we will be moving on to the core router, NY Core 2 router. So we are moving on to NY Core 2 router, and what we will do is we will be moving on to the interface, moving on to global configuration mode first. Interface range fast Ethernet 1/0/23 and 24 port, though both the ports are bundled together. Port, channel, so command is channel group, and group number is 1. You saw that port channel was 1, so group number is 1. Channel group 1 followed by the command mode. So this is the command channel group, and number you can number it anything. Both the group number should be same on both the side. On that side, on NY Core 1 it is 1, so we have made group 1 as well over here. We are troubleshooting it. Now we have to make it the mode in active mode, because that side is passive, this should be active, or vice versa. So we are making it the passive mode into active mode. Command is mode space active. Enter, and now you will see that this mode will become active and both the ports would be now changing their state. You can see over here the interface port channel is changing its state to the up. You can see over here, and we can now see the configuration or see the state of the port, whether the negotiation has taken place or it has successfully bundled together. Command is simple, show ether channel summary. It will show you all the output, and you can see over here this PP shown over here. PP means bundle in port channel. So our configuration is successful. We have troubleshooted the fault over here. We can see or check on the next end as well, which is the passive mode, and the command on the privilege mode to check it is show ether channel summary. It will show you the output, and we have successfully configured the error. So what we did was we changed the mode to active over here, and passive was already over here for the negotiation to take place. So this is very important, LSCP port negotiation. If both the modes are passive, it cannot negotiate. You can see the red cross over here. One mode is active, other is passive, then it is possible. Green tick shows that it is successful. Both the modes should be different. Passive and active would negotiate, or even if both the modes are active, they will negotiate. These were the commands used: show interfaces, show IP interface brief, show ether channel summary, and you saw that in the laptop. And this section comprises of troubleshooting Cisco IP networks. So in this CCNA track, we will be troubleshooting our labs and will tell you how to troubleshoot and make your network work when there is any kind of failure. So we are talking about port channel over here in this module, in this part 6 of module 1. For a port channel to work, both devices at its end must agree on it. They must know what they are talking over a port channel, and to treat it like a single link. So this bundled up link should be treated as a single link. If a device treats some physical link as a part of port channel, but the other device does not, these links will be down. So both the ends should negotiate and treat it as single port channel. So in this part, we are dealing with port aggregation protocol, PAGP, which is a Cisco proprietary protocol, and it can be only run on Cisco switches. PAGP facilitates the automatic creation of port channel by exchanging PAGP packets between the Ethernet port. So you can see over here, one switch is active, other is standby, and they will be sharing the PAGP packets for the links to become a single port channel. You can see over here we have an access switch and we have two links bundled up together. So as you know, PAGP packets are exchanged between switches over Ether channel capable ports, ports that have the same neighbor device ID and port group capability are bundled together as bidirectional or point-to-point Ether channel link. So this bundled up together link, two links will be acting as single link and it will increase the bandwidth. That is the advantage. And we will be now troubleshooting the lab as well. So problem definition in this lab task is wrong Ether channel mode issue. So we will be working on these two switches, NY core 1 and NY core 2. We have two links over here bundled up together which will be acting as a Ether channel, and it is running PAGP, but it is not working and we will troubleshoot it why. So you can see the port over here, FA1/0/23, FA1/0/24 on both the ends. Now moving on to the practice lab and troubleshooting the lab. So we are on NY core 1 switch, and you can see over here we will see the configuration first with the command show running config. It will show us the running configuration on this switch. You can see over here we have to deal with this port FA1/0/23 and 24. It is the trunk port channel group 1 mode auto. It means PAGP is running over here, so it is bundled up together. We can check the configuration with a very specified command, and the command is as follows. For port channel rectification, the command is simple: show Ether channel summary. It will give you all the details of the port channel configured. You can see over here PAGP is configured on these ports FA1/0/23 and 24, but the status is not operational. You can see D means down, SD means suspended down, so it is not operational. So we have auto mode running on this PAGP which we saw on the running config. We can see the same configuration on the NY core 2 switch. So moving on to NY core 2 switch, specifying the same command in the privilege mode, show running config. You can see the running config on this switch NY core 2 as well. You will see that we have port channel configured on these two ports. Auto is the mode. You can see over here. So the next command is show Ether channel summary. We will see the output as follows on this switch NY core 2 as well. You will see over here that it is in state SD. Now we will rectify, and we have seen that both the ends are having auto mode. So that is the issue. Correct mode needs to be configured on both the ends. So you can see over here PAGP modes, auto mode in port aggregation protocol does not initiate the negotiation but respond to the port aggregation packet initiated by the other end. In our case, we have two switches having auto mode, so none is initiating the port aggregation protocol. So that is the issue. Then we have second mode, desirable mode. Desirable mode in port aggregation protocol initiates the negotiation and tries to form the Ether channel. So we have a table over here. If both the ends are desirable, it will work. If both the ends are auto, it will not work. If one end is auto and one end is desirable, it will work. If both the ends are auto, it will not work, but one end is desirable and other end is auto, then though it will work. So our rectification is simple. We have to make one mode on the one of the switches as desirable. So we are NY core 2. We will rectify it. And simple is the command. Moving on to the global configuration mode, interface, range, fast Ethernet 1/0/23-24, and the command to change the mode is channel, group, 1, mode, and the mode should be now desirable, making it the trunk port now. You can see the state is changing. Command is interface, port channel 1, and the command is switch port trunk encapsulation.1q. Both the ends should be the trunk ports. It is the basic of switches. .1q, and the command is simple switch port mode trunk. So these ports should be the trunk port between the switches as well. You should know that. So we have changed the configuration. Now we can see the output with the following command in the privilege mode. So now we can check the configuration with the command show Ether channel summary, and you will see the output as SUS, and this is now in use. So this is the change you can see over here. We can see do the same on the NY core one, and the command is show Ether channel summary, and you will see the states over here, and it is now changing the state. PP means it is working. This P denotes it is now operational bundled in port channel. You will see this same on NY core 2. PP means it is now bundled and working in the port channel. So we have rectified the issue. So what we did was we had two modes over here, auto mode over here, auto mode over here. So this was not negotiating. What we did was we changed this mode to desirable so that this can initiate the negotiation and it will respond to it. So this resulted in the port channel bundling and rectification of the error. So these are the commands used: show IP interface brief, show Ether channel summary, show running config for the rectification. Thank you. This is module 1 part 7. We are dealing with basic switch troubleshooting in this module of troubleshooting Cisco IP networks. This CCNA track will be very beneficial for you. You can learn how to troubleshoot the failovers, the errors in your network, and make it optimal and optimize the network. So today we are dealing with and we are discussing the loops in the network. Technically, a network loop occurs in computer network when there is more than one layer to path between the multiple connections. So multiple connection between two network switches or two ports on the same switch connected to each another. So this is the scenario where looping can occur when you are having more than one path or multiple connection between the two network switches or two ports on the same switch connected to each another. You can see in the figure that two ports on the switches or this switch is connected to each another. So it is leading to more than one path. So this can lead to looping issues in the network. So the loop creates broadcast storms, as broadcast and multicast are forwarded by switches out every port. So the switch or switches will repeatedly rebroadcast the broadcast messages. It will flood the network. So this message would be broadcasted from every port and it will flood the network. It will congest your network. Since the layer 2 header does not support a time to live value, if a frame is sent into a loop topology, it can loop forever. It will go round and round in the switch in the local area network and your destination would not be reached. This is the scenario. So a loop topology is often desired to provide redundancy, but loop traffic is undesirable. So we want to eliminate this. The spanning tree protocol was originally designed for the bridges, but later on it was used for the switches, and spanning tree protocol ensures that all bridge segments are reachable, but any point where loop occur will be blocked. So it will block one point where looping can occur so that packets can be forwarded in the network. So problem definition in this module parts is explain how spanning tree protocol prevents switching loop while allowing redundancy in the switch network. So we have a topology over here on the Cisco packet tracer. We will be using this topology to explain you the looping in the network and how to avoid it in this troubleshooting part 7 module. And you can see over here that we have 3 switches connected to each another. We have multiple paths to reach from PC1 to PC0 or vice versa from PC0 to PC1. So we have multiple paths. It can travel through this path, through switch 2, or it can travel through switch 0, switch 1, and then to the PC0. So we have multiple paths over here. This can lead to looping issue. Now we will show you how this occurs and how to resolve the issue. So first of all, we will ping from PC1 to PC0 and verify the connectivity between the hosts. So we can see that we have a local area network. We will ping this PC0 having the IP address 192.168.1.101 and PC1 is having the IP address 192.168.1.100. So we will now ping this PC0 from the command prompt. You can see over here the command is simple: ping 192.168.1.101, and this is reachable, and we can do the same from that PC as well. So we will ping this PC1 from PC0, and the IP address of this PC1 is 192.168.1.100. So we will ping this PC 192.168.1.100, and you can ping this PC as well. So we can reach both the PCs and connectivity is established. So as this is a redundant topology, we will now see the status of spanning tree on the each switch. So you can start off with switch 0, taking the CLI of the switch 0, and you will see the status of the switch or spanning tree on this switch. The command is simple. Moving on to the privilege mode, and we will see the spanning tree with the command show spanning tree VLAN 1. You can see over here we have a spanning tree established. Role are shown. FA0/3 port is designated port. FA0/1, this port is the root port, and this FA0/2 where orange circle or mark is shown over here. This is the block port. So this is the block port right now. You can see over here. We can do the same for switch 1. We can check the status with the command. The command is same for this as well. So command is show spanning tree VLAN 1. You will see the status over here. Both the ports are shown over here. One is root port, other port is designated port. You can see over here FA0/2 is the designated port. This is the designated port over here. Now moving on to switch 2, we will do the same for switch 2. Command is simple, you know the command. And moving on to the privilege mode, command is show spanning tree VLAN 1, and you can see over here we have all the ports are designated ports on this switch 2. This is a switch 2, all the ports are designated ports. So this orange light shows that this port is not forwarding frames because it is in spanning tree state, in this case the blocking state. So this is the blocking state of the port. So it means this path from switch 0 to switch 2, then the packet will be forwarded to PC0. If we send packet from PC1, it will take this path switch 0 to switch 2, then PC0. Because this path is in blocking state, this port is in blocking state, so it will not forward the frames from this path. So this is now very clear from the topology shown on the Cisco packet tracer here. Now what we will do is we will remove this link and see the convergence. So we will remove one particular link and see the convergence over here. So now we are removing connection between switch 0 and switch 2. So we have removed the connection between switch 0 and switch 2 now. You can see over here. Now we will see the status on the switch with the command simple the command spanning tree command, and we will see the status right now after removing the link. Moving into privilege mode, the command is switch show spanning tree VLAN 1. You will see that this is the designated port now. We will see the changing in the switch connections. You will see switch 0, we will see the same on the switch 0 with the command show spanning tree VLAN 1. You will see over here designated port and root port is shown over here. Then we will see the same for switch 1. Here we will see the output as follows with the command show spanning tree VLAN 1, and this is also the root and designated port. Now we cannot see any kind of blocking or alternate port over here because we do not have redundant more than one path. So it means that there is no issue of looping till now. So you saw that this now port is green. This status is green because there are no longer redundant paths in the network. This is the main issue and main reason this port is now forwarding frames, because there is no more than one path now. Previously this port was showing orange color, orange status, and I explained you the reason. So you know that this port FA0/2 was in blocking state previously, but then it became to listening state, then to learning, and then finally to forwarding state. That's why now it is green. So the transition is from blocking to listening to learning and then forwarding. So that is the status now, and we can check the connectivity by issuing the commands, by issuing the ping status from the command prompt, and we can ping the IP of the next PC and we are reaching it. Even though we removed the link, we removed the connection, but we have one path where there is no redundant link over here, and we can see the connectivity between the two PCs. So, however, STP is very useful for redundant paths, as it was previously blocking one path. You can change it according to your needs. You can make any of the switch as root switch and as root bridge, and you can change the status of any of the switches according to your scenario. But the main concept was to show you the change of state of the switches or redundant path and their effect. So commands used were show spanning tree VLAN, show spanning tree summary, show spanning tree brief. We can also check this again. So we can check the command's status in the privilege mode. The command is simple show spanning tree summary. It will show you summary. You can see over here two ports are forwarding. In the VLAN 1, you can see the VLAN number over here. You can see over here external system ID is enabled and all the other things are disabled. BPTU filter and uplink fast is disabled. You can also check with the command show spanning tree brief. This will also help you, and show spanning tree, it will show you the root port, designated port, bridge ID is shown over here 32769. 32768 is the default priority. You can see over here cost is 19. So this is the output as shown over here. So this is how we troubleshoot our spanning tree in the local area network. Thank you. This is module 1 part 8. We are discussing basic switch troubleshooting in this section of troubleshooting Cisco IP networks. This will be very beneficial for you if you're learning the new CCNA track and you can learn the troubleshooting skills when you encounter this in your network. So VLAN trunking protocol has a simple goal: VLAN, virtual local area network propagation. In other words, it makes sure that the VLAN database is consistent on all of your switches. You can configure a new VLAN on a switch and VTP adds to it to all other switches. You delete it, VTP will delete it. For suppose you have 200 switches in your network, you cannot modify each and every switch. So if you are adding any VLAN, you can add this on one VLAN on one switch, and this will be propagated to other switches and it will take the effect. So to work, VTP relies on 4 items: name, domain, password, version and revision number. We say that two switches are in the same domain if they share the identical domain name, password and VTP version. So this should be same for all the switches. Once two switches agree to this, that they are in same domain, they can start to sync their VLAN database. So this syncing will propagate the information to other switches. So this is only possible on the trunk link. You cannot do this on the access link. So trunk link between the switches can be configured for VTP. So how does the sync happen? This is where the version number or revision number start to play a key role. So revision numbers is very important. This is an integer that indicates how to date the VLAN database, how to update the VLAN database. Because the higher the revision number, the most up to date the VLAN database is. Therefore, two switches will check each other's revision number, and the one with the higher one will push the database to the other. So one with the higher revision number will push the information, propagate the information to another. Every time you create, modify or delete a VLAN on the switches, the revision number on the switch increases by 1. So that increase means that there is a change in the switch configuration of the VTP. It will propagate to other switches with the higher revision number, will propagate that information. So there are some limitations and considerations as well. Our major consideration is about how harmful VTP can be. If you attach a new switch to the network that for any reason happens to have a higher revision number, it will propagate that information to all the VLAN database. So you won't do that when you are attaching a switch to a network and it is having a higher revision number. So all the configuration on the other switches will change because the higher revision number switch will propagate its information. So before attaching a new switch, that is very important, you need to set its revision number to 0 so that there is no harm in the network. However, Cisco has not created a command line for that. Instead, we need to force it in the transparent mode and then back to the client server mode so that it can take the effects of the changes. So before you plug in a new switch in your network, you should configure it in the transparent mode. That's the best tip and best consideration. So it is very important that VTP only propagates VLAN configuration. You will still need to connect each switch and manually configure the ports you need to. So our problem definition for this lab task is VTP configuration is not synchronizing. VTP synchronization problems are caused by misconfiguration of domain name, password or revision number. So this is the basic topology we are going to use for this lab task. This is the practice lab topology. We will be using this NY access1 switch and this NY core 2. These switches are configured. We have two VLANs on this, VLAN 10 and VLAN 20 on this switch. This is the data VLAN, this is the voice VLAN, which is configured on this switch NY access1. Now secondly, this switch is configured in server mode. Server mode of the VTP server mode is configured, and this is configured in the client mode. So this server mode will propagate its VLAN information and their database should sync, but it is not syncing. This VLAN 10 and 20 are not being propagated over here and they are not being added over here, VLAN 10 and 20, and we will see why it is happening. So we will troubleshoot it why VLAN 10 and 20 are not being added over here on the client mode switch NY core 2. This is the trunk link configured between the two switches, which is very important. We are on NY access 1 switch now. So we will see the configuration now with the command show running config. All the information will be displayed in this privilege mode. Command is shown. You can see over here. We have a trunk mode. This port is connected to that NY core 2 in the trunk mode. And then we have interface VLAN configured over here. We can see the VTP status with the command show VTP status. It will show you all the VTP detail. You can see over here VTP domain is Cisco, domain name is Cisco, the mode is server mode. You can see over here number of existing VLANs are 7, configuration revision number is 3. Now we can check the VLANs with the command show VLAN, and you will see the VLANs over here. With this command we have data and voice VLAN over here in this server mode, and my access 1 is operating in server mode. We have 2 VLANs configured over here. We have seen the revision number, domain. Now we can see the password as well with the command show VTP password. You can see over here the password is Cisco, which is being set. Now NY core 2, we will moving to NY core 2 in the privilege mode. Show running config, we will see the configuration. You can see over here the configuration over here, all the information displayed. This is in trunk mode configured. We have VLAN over here. We will see the VTP status with the command show VTP status. You will see the VTP status over here. Now here you can see it is in client mode. Revision number you can see over here is 0. It means that database is not syncing. That is the issue over here. So when the revision number are same, it means that database has synced, but the server mode switch has not propagated or synced the database, because here domain name is test. Both the switches should be in same domain. The domain name on that switch was Cisco. So if it is not Cisco, it will not sync. So this is the problem over here. We will see the VLANs. The command is show VLAN. So we will see the VLANs over here, and we cannot see data and voice VLAN over here because the database has not synced. We can see the password with the command show VTP password with the command, and you will see the password is Cisco over here. Password is okay, same, but the database is not syncing. We will now troubleshoot it. So we have to move on to global configuration mode, and first of all change the domain. VTP domain, and domain should be Cisco to match and synchronize. Now we have changed the domain from test to Cisco. You will see over here it is now successful. Domain name has been changed. Now database should sync. We can check in the privilege mode, show VTP status. Now here the domain is Cisco. Revision number is now 3. It means it is syncing now. It has synced successfully. We can check the VLAN. Command is show VLAN. Show VLAN. You can see over here VLAN. Now the information has been displayed in this client mode switch. The VLANs are automatically created because the database has synced. So we use command show VTP status and show VTP password for the troubleshooting purpose. So we removed this, we troubleshooted this error. This was not syncing. The databases were not syncing. We synced the database. The error was that domain here was Cisco and domain set here was test. So it was not syncing. What we did was we removed this domain and changed it to Cisco so that both the switches NY core 2 and NY access 1 are in same domain. And as soon as we did that, it started syncing, and this VLAN 10 and 20 were propagated and added over here as well successfully. So this is the troubleshooting that we did in this section. Thank you. This is module 1 part 9, and we will end up this module with overview of everyday switch issues in the network, the issues that we encounter in daily life in our network. So we will be discussing this in the troubleshooting of Cisco IP networks. So as you know, we have layer 2 and layer 3 switches. A traditional layer 2 switch will operate at layer 1 and layer 2. So they will operate at the physical layer. So you can see that we have to deal with physical connectivity issues as well. It can be RJ45 connector issue, cabling issue, or any type of Ethernet access into the media. So any kind of physical issue can arise in your network. Cabling issue can be one of the issues, and then RJ45 connector, wrong connection in the connector can be the issue as well. So this kind of issues can be encountered in the layer 2 switches. We also have multi-layer switches in our network. So when talking about multi-layer switch, we are talking about layer 3 switches, which also have the routing function, and because of this routing function, they require different kind of troubleshooting. In the case of layer 2 switch, you may be encountering any interface issues, but mostly related to the management function of the switch. So that's the basic issue in the layer 2 switches. In other words, the switch ports on the layer 2 switch all deals with Ethernet problems and layer 2 components. However, the switch as a device will have an IP address for the management purpose, so that you can telnet or SSH and encounter or troubleshoot the issue. In that sense, that you may have layer 3 issues as well related to IP address and default gateways. So on layer 3, we can encounter IP address and default gateways issues as well. We need to encounter that. So in that sense, you can encounter layer 3 issues as well, which are related to IP addresses and default gateways. Talking about switched media issues, some people start at layer 1 and start looking at potential media issues like the damage to the wiring, it can be possible, or interference by the close by electromagnetic sources. The category of unshielded twisted pair wiring will also be very critical. If you are using Cat3, Cat4, Cat5, so their specification is different. Cat3 will have more sensitivity to the electromagnetic interferences. However, Cat5 will have better enclosures and plastic around that, so it will prevent the interferences. So the cabling used is also very important. Poor cabling management can also be a very important issue in your network. So you need to ensure that you have proper cables inserted in your network. So physical security is also a very big problem. If you allow more people to connect to your switches, or unwanted traffic would be passed through your switches, then traffic pattern may change and not necessarily related to media or physical layer, but collisions would occur. Collisions would increase because you are installing any new hub, new switch in your network. This may give rise to the collision issues in the network, and also this is also related to physical connectivity, and so it could be categorized as a physical layer or media issue. So we often try to troubleshoot the switch issue with this command show interface. You can see over here we have a command showing all the interface characteristics with this command. The command is show interfaces XYZ. F is 0/1 is the interface right now here shown in the example. So you can see over here the detail. This shows that fast Ethernet 0/1 is up. Line protocol is up and connected. So this interface is up now. This deals with the layer 1 connectivity. So you should know that. So it means that this is up. It is not down or disabled. If it is down or disabled, you could then check the issue. It can be physical issue. It can be the configuration issue. It can be that you have manually shut down the port. So you have to check that. So if you have manually shut down the interface, you have to then manually bring that up with the command no shut. That can be an issue. Then you can have CRC errors in your switch.
That could be due to any kind of noises, interferences in your network, or any kind of physical fault in the Ethernet. Sometimes switch is unable to process the traffic because the input rate is exceeding the switch capacity to process the traffic. So it could be one more issue that could be due to the errors or noises or CRC errors in your network or the switch. So talking about excessive noise, if you suspect excessive noise, the symptoms of that could be number of CRC errors, or rather changes in the number of CRC errors not related to collisions. It could be related to collisions or it cannot be. In other words, the CRC error could be a result of collisions, but if the number of collisions is constant and consistent and does not change or have the peaks, then the CRC error could be caused by excessive noise. So if you are frequently having these CRC errors, then it could be due to noise or interferences. So when this happens, you need to physically inspect the cable first. The cabling, the physical testing is very important. So you can use the cable testers and tools available for that purpose. Poor design in using perhaps something other than Cat5 can be the problem. If you are using Cat4, then it can result in greater problems. Using Cat5 or Cat6 at a greater bandwidth rate could improve the noise problem. For suppose you have Cat5 cabling and 100 Mbps network could be the cause of this, and so the cable testing plus documentation could tell you the way to fix the problem. So a good cabling is very important. Talking about excessive collisions, if the rate of collision exceeds the baseline of your network, then there are other many types of solutions to this problem. So there are several rules of thumbs in terms of what that baseline should be. Most of them point to the number of collisions with respect to total number of output packets to be less than 0.1%. So it means that most of them point to the number of collisions with respect to total number of output packets to be less than 0.1%. It means that if collisions are a problem, it could be a defective or ill behaving device. So your device needs to be functioning properly. For example, a network interface card sending excessive garbage in the network. So this is a physical issue. Your network card could be faulty. This typically happens when there are circuitry or logic failures or even physical failures on the device. That's very common. It is a circuit device and you can encounter problems any day. This condition is typically known as jabbering, and again it relates to network interface card issues. So you need to monitor that as well. A time domain reflectometer or TDR could be used to find undetermined Ethernet cabling, and which could be reflecting signals back into the network and causing collisions. Port access issues. Port issues or port access issues will most likely have very visible symptoms. User will not be able to connect to the network and their network will be down or their port will be down. All of these problems are related to media and faulty equipment. Network interface cards, but a good portion of them are related to duplex and speed settings. So it might happen that one of your switch is operating at full duplex and other is operating at half duplex. So this could result in the problem. This may occur when one or both ports on the link are reset and the auto negotiation process does not result in both the links operating at the same configuration. So in general, both sides should have a same duplex setting, or they should have either auto negotiation or same setting on both sides. So you might also see a CRC error messages when both the speed and duplex setting are hard coded into the device. So you have to ensure that speed and duplex setting is very important in this regard. So you can see over here we have two switches and we can set the duplex and speed setting on this Cisco packet tracer topology. This is very simple. This is being shown to just tell you that port setting are very important, speed and duplex setting are very important. So if you are operating at
auto, then it will auto negotiate. You can also operate at full duplex, you can also operate at half duplex. And apart from that, speed is also very important. If you are operating at 100 Mbps, it's up to you, or 10 Mbps or auto. This is dependent on yourself, but both the ends should be negotiating and setting should be same, so that there is no issues in the network or operation of the switches in the local area network. So duplex related issues. Here is a good summary of the duplex issues related to duplex mode. One end set to full and the other end is set to half will result in a mismatch and visible error message. So one end set to full and the other set to auto negotiation will revert to half duplex, because if auto negotiation fails, it will also result in a mismatch. Other combination may not even render a mismatch or error message, but they will revert to half duplex. So even both ends are set to auto negotiate, they may revert by default to different things. For example, a gigabit Ethernet default to full duplex. If auto negotiation fail while 10/100 port default to half, in that case it would be a mismatch. So although auto negotiation is a useful feature, it allows you to have generic port that could get any type of connectivity depending on what is being connected on the other end. Still, auto negotiation may be a problem, and it is sometimes avoided in favor of static configuration of duplex setting. So you can do that, you can set both the switches on both the ends to full duplex. It will also work for you. Speed related issues. Sometimes similar happens with the speed related issues. If you set one end to one speed and the other end to another speed, that is obviously a mismatch. But even when they auto negotiate, they may result in a mismatch if only one side is negotiating and the other side is not. So again, duplex is related to closely to speed, and so auto negotiation of speed may result in something like half duplex. Lastly, we can encounter configuration issues. Other issues may be related to configuration errors. Some of them are related to losing configuration or not having proper backup. So backup is very important. In any case, here are some guidelines to lay out a good configuration management. To keep hard copies is a good first step. So save these things in the text file and centralize configuration in something like a TFTP server, always considering security limitation of TFTP. So you can save the backup files, you can save things like a TFTP server with security limitations. In terms of change management, keep multiple versions of the configuration before and after the change. So you can take the backup of configuration before you are making any changes or after you have done any modification. Always save the configuration into NVRAM so it is not lost when your device is powered on or device is resetted. So after you are resetting your device, if your configuration is saved in NVRAM, so it will always be available in the next boot up. Finally, amongst other things, secure the configuration by password, protecting the console, VTY and other type of access in the devices. So your password is very important. You can make your accessing of the switches very secure with that. Also protect the configuration backups on servers and other locations. Backup is very important. In case of failures, it will be very useful. So these are the issues that we encounter daily in the network or local area network, and we can troubleshoot it thoroughly. Thank you. About config files, what are config files? It contains Cisco IOS commands that have been performed on the router, access server switches. In this task, we will be working with running config and make it the startup config. That is so that when the device next powers on or reboots, it will save the same configuration. So in short, the command we have inputted first time on router, if we want to save that command, then we have to be copying or making it the startup config. so that whenever there is a power failure or we boot up the router, the configuration is saved. So configuration saved can be achieved by moving the
image using TFTP. We will be using the platform of Cisco Packet Tracer and the real-time routers on the Practice Lab platform. And so, keeping in mind that importance, the backup of router, the iOS image of router, the configuration of router should be saved or backed up. So we are going to discuss an approach to copy a configuration from a router to a TFTP server and back to another router. Before you proceed with this method, make sure you have a TFTP server with an IP address that is operational. So objective of today's task is to provide a backup solution for an iOS image using TFTP. So this is the topology being used. We have a TFTP server connected to a router. IP address to the TFTP server have been given and configured. Now we will give the IP address to this router. The interface of the router is Gigabit Ethernet 0/1, and we are going to configure the IP address on the router. Moving on to the global configuration mode first and assigning this interface the IP address. Interface Gigabit Ethernet 0/1. So IP address of this router is IP address 192.168.100.254 followed by the subnet mask 255.255.255.0 followed by the no shut command to bring up this interface, and you can see that the interface is up now. Now we will use the show command to see the version of iOS running on the router. So moving on to the privilege mode, command is show version. You can see the iOS version running on the router is as follows. You can see the information over here, the model of the router and the serial number of the router as well. Now we will back up the iOS image of the router on the TFTP server. The command is simple. The command is copy flash TFTP. You can see that copy flash TFTP. Source file name, we are going to give the source file name here. So we have given the source file name that we can extract or copy from the show version command. This is the iOS image file. Enter, and now address of the name of the remote host. So we are going to enter the IP address of the remote host or the TFTP server. The IP address is 192.168.100.1, and you can see destination file name over here. You can enter the name as you like. I am entering backup. To copy running config to startup config, the command is as follows: copy running start. This is the command. We can also copy the startup config to the TFTP. The command is copy startup config to the TFTP. The command is copy startup config and TFTP. So it will copy the backup or the startup config to the remote TFTP server. So this is copying and this is writing the startup config to the remote server of TFTP. This is how we copy the startup config to the TFTP and also copy the iOS image to the remote TFTP server. We will also perform this configuration in the practice lab.
In this task, we will be working with running config and make it the startup config. That is so that when the device next powers on or reboots, it will save the same configuration. So in short, the command we have inputted first time on router, if we want to save that command, then we have to be copying or making it the startup config, so that whenever there is a power failure or we boot up the router, the configuration is saved. So configuration saved can be achieved by moving the files in the startup config. When managing config file, it is important to learn how to backup, restore and upgrade them using TFTP protocols and moreover FTP. In this task, you will learn how to backup an config file and how to boot from that configuration file. So you can see that we are going to be using this server and this router, and transfer of file through TFTP will be taking place between these two, and iOS running on this router would be taken backup of. So first of all, we are going to connect to the server and activate the TFTP server. So you can see the application over here, TFTP server, utility is over here, and we are going to open this, and you can see the options over here. Current directory and server interface is being selected. Now we are going to connect to the NY-Edge1 router and issue the following command. So now we are going to type the command copy running config followed by startup config. So it will now ask for the destination file name. We are going to copy running config into startup config, and the destination file name can be issued. We can press enter, and this will copy the startup config, and this will create a backup of the running config, which will be saved to NVRAM known as non-volatile random access memory, and if we power off the router, our configuration would be saved. Next, we will copy this file from NVRAM and move it to the flash memory. The command is copy NVRAM and moving it to flash memory. The command is startup config flash So the command is copy startup NVRAM startup config flash. It will ask for the destination file name startup config. We will press enter. Do you want to overwrite? Yes, confirmed. So this is now overwrite. We have copied the file from NVRAM to flash memory. To view the content of flash memory, the command is dir, which means directory. You will see the content of flash memory over here. Now we will backup the startup config file to the TFTP server using the following command. The command is copy flash start The command is copy flash start. This will ask for the source file name. We will press tab over here. So source file name is C2900-universal k9-mz.spa.152-4 .m6.bin file. This is the source file name. Now it is asking for the destination file name. source file name, we will type startup config -config tftp. It will ask for the destination file name. We will type again startup config tftp. You can see that file is being copied. Now we'll press enter. So once the config file has been backup, we will now copy the file back from tftp to this router. The command is simple: copy tftp flash. It will ask for the remote host. The IP address of the remote host is 192.168.16.10. Now it will ask for the source file name. We will type the command startup config. Destination file name, we will type the command startup config. You can see that it is asking for, do you want to overwrite? We can press enter. It will access the TFTP server and overwrite this file. So this is how we can copy file from server to the router and router to the server. This is how we can take backup and recovery in case of failure of iOS using TFTP. Thank you.